In today's video, I will show you how you can wash Pastelmat paper from Clairefontaine. This is really great. You can remove with a little bit of water and soap marks that you cannot remove with a kneaded eraser. So enjoy watching. Wait, before we dive into that, I invite you to download my free beginner's guide. You can find a lot of tips and tricks for your start drawing with pastels. In this video, I would like to show you what you can do with the Pastelmat paper from Clairefontaine if you have made a mistake in your sketch. I have here just drawn with the black pit pastel pencil here outlines of a flower, but then I have thought they are not good. I don't want that in that case. So I have taken a kneaded eraser and tried to erase it. And you can use that if you have used a very light hand in your sketch. So if you have really worked with a light hand and have drawn the outlines very thin, you can remove it. But if you have used here the black, like I have done on that sand colored Pastelmat paper, then marks will stay. So what should I do now? I was really very worried. I don't want to put that expensive paper into the bin. So what can we do? Use another eraser. So maybe take such a normal eraser and try to use a rubber with more pressure. That helps a bit. So you can remove more of these lines. I really press here a lot and try to erase these lines, but you see they stay. So I then have tried out to use a sponge and a bit of water, and just to use water because Pastelmat allows to become wet, and that's the great thing. And then use the sponge and go over in circles, and also really so use a bit pressure, and voila, these lines disappear and nothing happens with the Pastelmat paper. Of course, you have to let it dry a bit afterwards. So go over with a tissue, remove a bit of the water, and then it needs a bit of a while until it is dry, and then you can continue to work on it again. So this is really a great thing. I will also try it out on another colored Pastelmat paper with some red-green colors. So let's take it's a light gray paper, Pastelmat from Clairefontaine. And then let's use here a red and a green pastel pencil. And let's just draw some lines here on it with different amount of pressure, some very thin lines, a bit more pressure. Of course, you cannot press so much that your fine lines so that you will disturb your paper, but just make some lines and let's see what happens when we first use our kneaded eraser. So remove here the pigment a bit. It works a bit. Erase over it, pick away the pigments, but you cannot remove them all. Take another eraser and use a bit more pressure this also works. You see these fine things of the rubber become colored. I can remove a bit of the pigment, but the marks are visible, so we see them here. I will zoom in a bit. So these marks are there. Then let's try the water. Let's use the sponge. It's just such a kitchen sponge. And use the water. And let's really move the sponge over the paper. The red is a bit there. I use then a bit more pressure. And I then also use a bit of soap. So let's put a bit of soap on the sponge and let's try that out. Let's try it out. What will happen? Will the paper be damaged? But nothing happens to the surface. Let's remove the foam a bit. Let's remove the foam a bit with a tissue. And it is becoming better and better. Let's do it again with a bit of the soap here in the middle. I have a bit of a mark of the red stroke in the middle, but it is really becoming better and better. I only use the smoother surface. I don't want to damage it with the rough surface of the sponge, but then go over with the kitchen paper again, and it's really working so well. So you see, here you can really wash the Pastelmat. And really the paper is not damaged and no marks are there anymore. Maybe take the sponge and remove away the soap a bit with only water. Go over again once more with the wet sponge and remove away a bit of the soap and go over with a kitchen paper again a bit and let it dry, and then we should be able to use that again. I place it here, and I would also try it out with the white paper. Let's see how white Pastelmat will react to the water. I have here a bit of white Pastelmat board. Let's try it here out too. Let's make some marks with the black. Let's really choose a darker color, or let's do a bit some strokes here with the black. Some darker ones too. Let's really test it out. Make some darker marks in black. And let's see also a bit of red. And also a bit of green. Try it out a bit with the green too and some lines. Okay, let's do it in the same way. Let's use our kneaded eraser first and move away the pigment a bit. It's not possible to remove all the pastel pigment with the kneadable eraser. You can try to pick it up. Let's then use the rubber here with more pressure. So press really more, but the strokes here stay. And then let's try the water. What will happen? I tried right away with a bit of the soap and then go over it. Not so much foam, you don't see anything. Yes, let's wash it a bit. Let's use a bit pressure. Move the sponge over it here in circles. Try to remove the foam a bit, but it's Yay, it is really working also on the white Pastelmat. Let's remove here the foam and voila, it's really white. Here I see a bit of black marks. Let's do it again with a bit of the soap here and a bit pressure on that part, and then remove it here with the tissue. And it's really gone. The color is really nearly gone. Okay, wonderful. Great. So I can then go over with the tissue, and wonderful. I don't see any marks on the white board, and I can use it again if I have made a mistake. So this is really a great way to save your Pastelmat paper. So after drying, here on the sandpaper, it's really a nice smooth surface again. I use then also a bit of the kneaded eraser and move over it. It can be that there is a bit of such a white frame around that part that we have washed. That can be, but you definitely can use the paper again. You have not to throw it away into the bin. You can also use a background and draw a background, and you would not see anything. So the surface is velvety like it should be. So really great. The only thing I have to mention is, when you do that, be careful that you don't wash over the edges. Can you see that here on this gray smaller piece of Pastelmat? One thing I have to mention, if you have a look here to that smaller sheet of gray Pastelmat paper, when the edges become wet, they make so little waves. So be careful that I recommend that you only use that washing technique if you have made a mistake in the middle of the paper. So like on that yellow paper, only here in the middle. Don't bring the water over the edges. It can also here go over on the back side and make some marks. So if you use that, I recommend only to make it wet in the middle of the paper. Remove it carefully and let it dry, and then it's totally fine. So you see here a nice smooth surface again, and you can draw on it. You can use the paper, and you don't have to throw it away. So I hope this tip was helpful for you. And sometimes you can save your Pastelmat paper. Okay, so I hope this is helpful for you, and before you throw away your paper, try that out on your Pastelmat, and maybe you then can use it again. Okay, so if you liked the video, then hit the subscribe button. If you have questions, pop them below in the comments, and don't forget to download my free beginner's guide if you're just starting out. It is very helpful with tips and tricks for you. Then I see you in the next time. Bye bye.